Hey everybody, tonight we're going to be talking about this nifty little bee and honeycomb slider that I found on Amazon, of all places, for about $25. So there's a few weird little things about this that deserve being pointed out. I still think it's probably worth the price. Yeah, so stick around and we will do the usual, weigh it, measure it, compare it to a few things, and have a little bit of fun. So yeah, join me. It's not bad at all. It looks very and feels very nice. You can find this on AliExpress if you really want to, but you're only going to save about $3. So I would just buy it off of Amazon instead. Now, what kind of caught my eye was this bee. They showed it in all their photographs. A little bee that's on here. It's laser etched or engraved. Hard to say. I'm sure that the honeycomb texture on here is machined, as is the rest of the body. That's why a lot of people don't understand why something that's plastic would cost so much money, but it's it's the machine time that matters, not what the material is. And these are machined products. They're not kind of a mold or anything. They're not. That would be a lot less expensive. So, and PEI is of course a very strong material that's noted for its machinable properties and its strength against chemicals, and it's just good stuff. And I love the color. I don't know. I was born in '72, so in the 1970s you saw this color a lot. It seems a lot of oranges and browns, and so I really dig PEI. I don't know why. Anyhow, off subject. It's got that little bee on it there, and normally you'd think, in all the product photos, you'd think, well, this is the front, this is the bottom, this is where the lanyard hole ought to be. But the lanyard hole's up here, and it's weird because they show that in all the product photos. They're very clear that that's where the bee is and that's where the lanyard hole is. But the unfortunate thing is you can't flip this over. You should be able to flip this over, but you can't because it's machined incorrectly. So it only this lid only goes on one direction. So I'm getting used to using it in more of an upside down, and it really doesn't matter. It really just doesn't matter. But if you want to use a lanyard, you'd hook it up here. I'll show you here in a second. But then the bee is kind of upside down, which is just, maybe I looked at the product photos for too long. Yeah, in the end, it just doesn't matter. But the fact that they made such a mistake in their machining and design is pretty funny, because this little part that sticks out here is actually thicker on one side than the other, and that's why this won't flip over. We'll take a closer look whenever I take it apart. But other than that, it works fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 clicks in either direction. It's a nice short. I don't like when things get too long, because if the travel is too far, it's too far for me, and I'm just a guy with average size hands. I like the way this feels. You can actually see through the PEI that the limiting screws go up here into this little, there's a groove on either side, and the limiting screws stick down in there, and that's what keeps it from coming apart. And those can be adjusted too, and they might require attention. So let's just do some comparisons and weights and everything, and then we will move on to the fun part of disassembly. I'll show you the details of those issues I was talking about. All right, comparison-wise, we have, I'm only going to get out my two usuals here. The Mackie CP3. A lot of people have that. And the Top B by Metal Toys DZ. Now, I think we'll weigh it and measure it and move on into taking it apart. There's no magnets in this, so I don't have to worry about those affecting the scale. Very nice 20 grams. Measurements are, we're just under 45 millimeters tall, a little over 30 wide, and about 12 millimeters thick. When it's fully extended, we are at about 63. So, yeah, let's take this puppy apart. But before we do that, I did forget what's in the box. Now this is a little disappointing to see, but this was the box. And to me this means mass production. So it came in this, that's all there is to see there. It was vacuum sealed in this. And here's one of the strange things about it. Do you need a lifetime warranty for this? Go to brands-support and enter this code. I'm not going to be doing that. I find it kind of strange that you'd see that on something like this. But you got that. Well, the big word of warning here is when this comes all sealed up inside of here, sealed along with it are this Allen wrench, this spring, and 2 glass balls. And you know how easy glass balls are to find when they land on the carpet. So those are actually all put into this vacuum bag and sucked up tight. I just noticed it when I was peeling it apart. Just as I was peeling it apart, I got down to about here and I'm like, whoa, the balls are going to fall out. And I had to be careful. So keep that in mind if you get one of these. We'll just keep this stuff out here. We don't need this Allen wrench. But we got our springs and balls. Like I said, these are the stronger springs. The lighter springs are installed in this right now. These are the glass balls. Right now we have the white plastic POM balls. So that's a nice soft feel. And for taking it apart, what I'm using is a 5/64. I'm sure it's metric, but this fits enough to do the job. Keep these things squeezed together. Most of you know the routine by now. Like I said before, I like to find out look for the T shape in your middle piece and stand it on end like that. And then just slowly lift the lid off. And the balls got stuck on the inside. Here we just have 2 little springs that sit down in a little countersunk hole. And then 2 white plastic POM balls. They're not Teflon, POM. And then we have a Teflon inner, which will now come the whole way out. And 2 tiny little set screws on either side. Those, if you need to adjust them, what fits best for me is a T6. It's hard to tell whether those are Allen head or Torx, but a T6 does fit. You might want to adjust these if you feel some kind of resistance. It's not explainable otherwise. If they stuck out too far, they might bottom out down in here. Hear that ripple sound? It's evidence of the machining. You can see the machining lines on here if you get the reflection just right. So yeah, machined plastic is kind of as expensive as if this was machined metal. But let me show you the problem here. So this has to line up with the hole here. And get in there. What's the problem? Oh, I know what I'm doing wrong here. So I've got the wrong piece in my hand. This goes in one way, and it moves nice and freely, but it will not go in this way. I mean, it will, but it's very tight, and I'm not even going to push it in any further because it'll deform this Teflon. It's so soft. But yeah, something funny going on there, and I got my calipers out, my digital calipers, not the ones I use here usually, but the more accurate ones. This, you can see how there's a little thin part that sticks out, that groove that fits in the groove of this. And it turns out this side is thicker than this side. And that's why it doesn't want to turn around when you want to put it in one way or the other. So it has to go in this way. That means if you want to use the lanyard hole, it has to line up with this lanyard hole here. So that B is forever always going to be upside down. Because when you put a lanyard on this thing and you hold it in your hand, you put the lanyard in down here. So it just doesn't, I'm unable to flip this around because of the fact that the lanyard hole doesn't line up. There's no space for it up here. So you can't do that. There we go. That's what it'll look like when we get it back together. But yeah, weird. And like I said, it works fine. You just have to get over it, I guess. But they're being mass produced. And considering that, and the fact that it's kind of wonky, I really don't think you ought to be paying $25 for it. I'll be surprised if the price doesn't come down in the near future. Why does it matter to me? Well, most of the other pieces we have are precision CNC machine pieces that, you know what I forgot to mention was, we know that this part is out of spec. One side's thicker than the other side. I didn't check this yet, but the fact is, this has to be out of spec too. One side has to be, this groove must be a different depth and height than the groove on this side, because you should still be able, if these were perfectly accurate, you should be able to flip this around one way or the other. I didn't check that yet, but I was able to check this. To do that, to check that, I'd have to go to work, use some measuring tools at work, maybe the optical comparator to look down. I could look straight down on this and take visual measurements. Another thing to do would be to take, we have things called gauge pins. I have a whole box of gauge pins, and each one's a specific diameter. And you'd sit here and you'd very carefully slide a pin into that groove until the pin didn't fit anymore. Then you'd know how deep and wide the groove is. But that's out of spec too. So there, you got to hear me go on and on and on about something you probably don't care one little thing about. But that's why I'm here, partly. So yeah, let's go ahead and put this puppy back together. Like I said, those are the harder springs and glass balls. I'm not going to put those back in. It's really, really loud. What I prefer is to use these nice soft springs and the much softer POM balls. Now you want to, again, remember where the lanyard notch is in comparison to the lanyard hole. So we want to put it down this way, and I just want to get everything. I need to carefully drop it so that the balls and springs go up into these two holes here. So you just want to line the top up with the bottom. Take your time, get close to it, and gently push them together. Hold it together and see if it works. It works fine. And we can put the screws back in. Like I said, this is just like any other, say, common slider. Whoops. Always turn backwards a few times to get that click, and you know you're in the threads. Turn clockwise. I'm not lined up. What in the devil? That is really bizarre. I don't know what the holdup is here. Pause. Okay, I am a dumbass sometimes. I don't know how many of you realized I still had this tinier, small T5, T6 bit in from when I was talking about removing these side screws. So I was turning it in here and nothing was happening. Well, it's because it was this tiny little bit. I had to put back in the 5/16 bit, and then everything's fine. Jeez, Pete. It's been kind of a long day. Okay, simple as that. Sorry for the delay and that silly, stupid mistake. Yeah, I like it. Even with its faults, I enjoy it. Should cost a little less, though, considering those faults. So that is all I have to say. Again, you can find this on AliExpress or Amazon. Amazon's where I got mine. That's where the link I'm providing will be for. It doesn't matter if you buy it from AliExpress. It'll be only $3 cheaper. You'll have to wait longer. And it's going to have the same issues that this one does, because I've studied the photos on there. Well, on the vendors that are selling this on AliExpress, I studied their photos. It's the same situation. So, something to keep in mind. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed this. I always enjoy making these videos. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for watching. Bye.